Hi, it's Jeff here in Charlie Brown's kitchen. It's Thursday, 4 April 2024, and if you can see the clock on the stove there, it's 2:01 in the afternoon, 2:01 p.m. and you can see I've got some of my baking utensils set out here. I got my rolling pin, measuring devices, and cups and little bowl. Getting ready here to make some Irish scones. You can see I've got some ingredients out there, and some of you eagle-eyed people out there might notice I've got some raisins, and I've learned a lot of recipes out there call for raisins in their scones, and I believe we were even informed that you can add fruits and stuff to your scones, so I'm electing to add some raisins. I've got my extra fine sugar there, baking powder, and vanilla. I've got my King Arthur unbleached self-rising flour here ready to go. That's of course the first ingredient we're going to use, and I think we add some baking powder and stuff. I've got the recipe here, so looks like we start with the flour. Oh yeah, we add the butter, the Kerrygold Irish butter with canola oil, because I believe that's closest to the butter they actually used in Ireland to make the scones. And this Kerrygold is actually made in Ireland. It's Irish butter, so I would assume they know what they're doing. So note, I am going to be using my stand mixer here with this heart or spade shaped paddle. That paddle does reach all the way to the bottom of the bowl, so it kind of scrapes along the sides. So I'll be using that to start with mixing up the dry ingredients, and then we'll add the wet ingredients. But we will be using my KitchenAid mixer here. So I'll be using measuring cups, and we've got 1 cup of flour. We're going to be putting in 5 cups of flour. So that's 1. Kind of leveling it out with the back of a knife. There's 2 cups. So there's 3 cups of flour. There's 4 cups. And then there's 5. Now I've kind of made this recipe adjustments a little bit so I could use that full container of butter in here. So I'm going to keep on going with more dry ingredients here before we add the butter, which is kind of wet. But we're going to add our sugar, and this is the superfine sugar, and this is basically regular normal sugar, just ground extra fine. And what that does is help the sugar dissolve into what you're making. I guess I really don't need that lid on there. So we're putting in just under 1 cup of sugar. So I'm going to be putting in my baking powder now, and I've got my measuring device here, baking spoon or whatever. So we're putting in 2 tablespoons, maybe a little bit more, 2 tablespoons and a tad of the baking powder. Now my Kerrygold Irish butter with oil is cold, and I'm going to be putting in these little spoonfuls, and I adjusted this recipe so I get to use all this butter. Just kind of use it up after I open it. So we'll add the little modules of butter here. We'll give this a quick mix just to mix it up a little bit. And then we'll keep on adding this butter. So we are adding the last of our cold Irish butter into the flour mix. I'm going to stir it for a little bit, not too much. Looks like we need to add a little bit of salt. And I'm told the salt kind of counteracts the taste of the baking powder. You don't want to mix this a lot or too much. Just incorporate the flour and the butter. Some people will go in there with their hands and kind of smash the butter and the flour together. Well, I can do the same thing with this spatula. But the cold butter, when it heats up in the oven, creates steam, and the steam makes the flour or the dough more flaky and rise. So I think our dry mix is pretty good here. We've pretty much incorporated the butter. And all the dry elements. So we'll move on to the wet stuff, the eggs and the milk, the vanilla. So to all my techie friends out there, my Sony video camera is being powered by a Blue Yeti unit right now, a little one. And the small Blue Yetis are perfect to keep a camera like this rolling for a long time. So I'm putting 2 eggs in the bowl here. I'm going to put my vanilla in. This is a brand new fresh bottle of vanilla. So we've added the vanilla. We are going to whisk this a little, break up the eggs. Okay. Now I'm using half and half for the milk or the cream because I like it heavy, and I don't have a problem with dairy products. So you might say I like my milk or cream strong. So we're going to put in about 1.5 cups of milk. And we're going to mix the milk and the vanilla together. So we've got our eggs and milk and vanilla all mixed together here. So I've taken the paddle off the mixer just to make it easier to pour in the milk and the eggs. I'm going to give that a little stir. And we're going to put the paddle back on the mixer. And put the mixer to work. Okay, before we go too far with mixing the dough, we are going to add raisins. So we're going to be adding, I guess you'd say, 1 heaping cup of raisins to the dough here, and then mix those in. Again, not a lot of mixing here. We're just more or less incorporating the elements together. The dough is already a nice consistency here. We got the flour, the butter, the raisins, the eggs. Okay, so what we're going to basically do next is get the dough out of the bowl here and to use my rolling pin on it. So let's get that set up. So I put some flour down on my cutting boards or bread boards, and we are now going to try to scoop the dough out. Dough is looking good, it tastes good, and it's always nice when you like the taste of the dough before you even bake it, but it tastes really good now. So we've got the dough pretty much out of the mixing bowl here. Now you see the baker dudes in the videos on YouTube kind of kneading the dough a little here. So we'll do the same. Put a little bit of flour top of the dough on the rolling pin a little bit. We are going to roll this out a little bit. Okay, that's enough for now. Now, since I don't have a 3-inch cookie cutter, I'm using a 3-inch glass top. Just put a little bit of flour on it, and we'll kind of cut out a scone there. So you can see off on the side I've got my baking sheet with my targets on it. There's actually a soap mat underneath here too. So we got double protection. You can see there's the soap mat. But we're going to take the scone and we're going to put it on its target, and we're going to keep on going here. Cut out another one. And place it. And we just keep on going until we use up all the dough. Of course, after you cut out the first batch, we'll reball the dough, kind of lump it all back together again, and cut out some more. Now, this is the first time I'm making this recipe, so I don't know how many scones we're going to get out of this. So we'll get the one in the center here, and then we'll reball this dough and do it again. But you can see I've got 7 scones so far. So let's reball this. So I am reballing the dough. Going to roll it out a little more. This is a KitchenAid rolling pin. It's metal, and that looks like some kind of non-stick coating on the rolling pin. So let's see if we can grab some more scones. So you basically keep on doing this until you use up all or most of the dough. Now, technically, I don't believe the scones have to be round. I've seen people sell triangle ones and square ones, but we're doing round ones because this seems to be the Irish way. So you can see I've got a dozen scones there on the tray, and yes, I do have another tray ready to go. So let's get this one out of the way and get my second tray and see how many more scones we can get. So again, we're going to reball this dough. I've got flour here. Roll it out a little. and cut out some more scones. Again, that's about a 3-inch circle. So we're going to do it again, reball. Play around in the flour. Do a little rolling. Not much. Now this dough isn't, I've not really handled this dough much. Supposedly the more you handle it, the less fluffy the scones get. So maybe we can get one more or so out of this. Still got dough left here. Give it a little flattening. Looks like we can get 2 more out of that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just going to ball the remaining dough up and put it on the cookie tray. So we may have a couple of imperfect round scones, but I don't care. I don't think that's going to affect the taste at all. So you can see we've ended up with about 2 dozen scones. As I said, I'm making a little bit larger batch than other recipes call for. So basically I incorporated that whole tub of Kerrygold Creamery Irish butter, added raisins, 5 cups of flour, added the baking powder and salt, and whatever else I might have forgot. But those are ready to go in the oven. And you can see I've got the oven sitting on convection bake, which means there's an airflow in the oven at 400 degrees. So we'll put them in and set a timer for about 20 minutes. I guess if you don't have one of these ovens or stoves, I can show you how to set the timer. We just hit oven cook time, then we'll do 20 minutes and hit start. So now you see it says timed, and if we hit the oven cook time thing again, you can show we've got 19 minutes and 48 seconds left to go. So in this oven, when it reaches the time, it automatically shuts off. So it stops the baking process. Of course, you still have to come along and manually take the items out of the oven. So you can see I cleaned up the flour and I set up my bakery or cookie cooling racks. And I've made all kinds of stuff, cookies and just all kinds of stuff that I put on these on these racks. See, they kind of got feet, so they'll let the whatever it is you're cooking, in this case today's scones, kind of cool down for a bit. Now I've taken out some confectionery sugar in a little sieve there, because when the scones come out of the oven, I'm going to sprinkle the sugar on top. Now some of you people may have noticed I did not egg wash the top of the scones, because I am going to do this confectioner's sugar on top of them. 36 seconds for liftoff. So you may have remembered I started this at about 2:05 and it's now 3:14. Of course, the last 20 minutes is baking time. But it takes longer when you're dealing with a video camera when you're baking. So, general rule of thumb for you video people out there, double the times in the recipe. There you go, it's done. So while my scones are hot out of the oven, I'm going to put the powdered sugar on. Yep, I'd say those are pretty well powdered. All you do is put the sugar in there and sieve it out above them. So I'm going to transfer the still warm scones over to the cooling rack. Yeah. Oh, good thing that one broke apart a little, gave me a chance to taste it. Tastes fantastic, people. So you can see we've got this batch of scones onto the cooling rack. Now we're going to go get our second dozen and do the same thing. But since I have plenty of time on the video camera, might as well show you the second dozen going over to the cooling rack. You can see this is the oddball dough scrap, and honestly the dough scraps look like they made some perfectly fine scones themselves. As I say, I'm not sure what the magic reason is for having a perfectly round scone, but that's fine. The shape does not affect the taste. So there's our second dozen. So there's our 2 dozen or so scones. I made them on 2 different cookie trays. So we've got 2 different cooling racks. And we'll let these cool for a while, but I can already tell you they taste really good. So I had the scraps of that one that kind of fell apart. Boy, I'm gonna like eating these. So I wanted to show you the difference between the scones I got at the Amazon Fresh store. You notice these scones are very hard, and the ones that we just made are very soft and flaky. So that's the most immediate difference. can hear tap tap. Hear nothing when I tap here. So, and also I've tried these this morning with my coffee, and other than the blueberries in there, these scones are pretty tasteless. I mean, I really don't care for these, what you call American scones, but these Irish scones, I'm telling you, they look fantastic. So I poured myself a nice cold glass of chocolate milk. As I just mentioned, you can also have coffee or tea with the scones. So I'm going to try one of these rejects. Oh yeah. That is good, people. Really good. It's nice and flaky and delicate on there, in there. Of course, this was just a piece of scrap dough that I kind of munched up. But you can see how light and flaky this is. Very good. Really good, people. This was, or this is, a total success. I just grabbed one of the bigger ones so you can see how light and fluffy. It's not hard at all. The top does have a little bit of crunch, but the underbelly and the interior, it's all very light and fluffy. It's like a fine pastry.